Death came for me in a hotel room, brought by my husband's knife and my best friend's betrayal. As he burst through the door, his eyes wild with rage, I saw my whole world crumble. "You traitor! How dare you cheat on me?" he roared, the knife glinting in his hand. I couldn't even form words before the blade found me. In those final moments of my first life, Trisha's whisper carried more venom than the steel that pierced my flesh. "Don't blame me. If you want to blame anyone, blame yourself. Who told you to live a better life than me?" The universe has a twisted sense of humor. When I opened my eyes again, I discovered something extraordinary. I could hear her thoughts, clear as day. Her mind spoke what her lips didn't dare. "In this life, your husband and children will all be mine." The realization hit me harder than death itself. Trisha, my supposed best friend, had orchestrated my murder out of pure jealousy over my perfect life, my loving husband, my beautiful children, both a son and a daughter. The memories of my previous life flooded back. How blind I had been. Trisha had always hidden her true nature behind a facade of independence, claiming she wanted a life without marriage or children. Her casual comments about envying my family now took on a sinister meaning. She had played me perfectly, luring me to that hotel room under the pretense of needing comfort after a breakup. The last thing I remembered was a sharp pain from behind before waking up in a carefully staged scene of infidelity. In this new life, I watched her face carefully, masking my own knowledge. When her thoughts revealed her uncertainty, could she have also been reborn? I knew I had to play my part perfectly. "Trisha, have we eaten yet? We have class later," I said with practiced casualness, watching her relax as she thought, "It seems she doesn't know anything. I've been chosen as the female lead again." Her thoughts continued to betray her plans. Today was meant to be my fateful first meeting with Harry, my future husband. In our previous life, it had been a simple act of kindness, him dropping his meal card, me helping him out. That moment had blossomed into love, despite Trisha's constant disparaging remarks about his humble background. Now she planned to intercept this meeting, to rewrite our story with herself as the protagonist. When she clutched her stomach and dramatically proclaimed, "Tina, my stomach hurts so bad. It must be my gastritis acting up again," I saw through her act immediately. Her request for me to walk 40 minutes to the pharmacy outside the school gate was nothing but a ploy to keep me away from my destined meeting with Harry. But this time, I had something she didn't expect, knowledge of her true nature and the ability to hear her every thought. "Sure, wait here for me," I said sweetly, playing along with Trisha's scheme. As I hurried toward the school gate, I could practically feel her smug satisfaction radiating behind me. Her thoughts rang clear as a bell. "What a fool! This time, I'll be the first to meet Harry." She never noticed my knowing smile as I disappeared around the corner. The moment she thought I was safely out of sight, Trisha rushed to the northern cafeteria, her excitement practically making her float. But I had other plans. I quietly doubled back to our dorm, ordering some takeout along the way. Now I understood her desperate chase for Harry with crystal clarity. He wasn't just some poor college student. He was an investment waiting to pay off. In 5 years, he would transform into a tech industry rising star, worth millions. Memories of my past life with Harry felt like watching a tragic movie. I had sold my parents' house to fund his dreams, living in a dark, musty basement while he built his empire. When success finally came, it brought a nice house, fancy car, and his entire family moving in with us. But instead of happiness, I got a life sentence of endless chores and expectations. The worst part? I became nothing more than a baby-making machine for his family. When our beautiful baby girl was born, his mother's disappointment cut deeper than any knife. Even during my recovery, she forced me up at midnight to wash diapers, sneering, "A daughter dares to lie around waiting for others to serve her?" The moment my postpartum period ended, She started force-feeding me bizarre folk remedies to ensure a male heir. Pig stomach boiled with cow dung, fried scorpions, even live piglet water with ants. All while Harry stood by, cold as ice, telling me I should be grateful for his mother's wisdom. Just thinking about it made bile rise in my throat. But fate had given me a second chance, and this time, I wouldn't waste it playing the perfect daughter-in-law. Back in my dorm room, I savored every bite of my takeout with newfound appreciation. Marriage and men? They could rot for all I cared. When Trisha finally returned, her face twisted with surprise and annoyance at finding me lounging on my bed. "Tina, why are you here?" she demanded, tugging at my arm. "Didn't I tell you to buy medicine for me?" I turned away briefly, rolling my eyes before facing her with a perfectly crafted look of apology. "I'm so sorry, Trisha," I said meekly. "My stomach started hurting too, so I had to come back to rest." She studied me suspiciously, but my pale face, courtesy of remembering those horrific remedies, convinced her. Her thoughts betrayed her relief. What an idiot! Good thing I've already secured Harry. In a few years, I'll be a wealthy lady. "You're overreacting," she said out loud, frowning but dropping the subject. The irony wasn't lost on me. When she had a stomach ache, I needed to run across campus for medicine. But my pain was just overreacting. In our past life, I'd spent countless hours caring for her during her hospital stays, always the faithful friend. Now I could see the truth. My kindness to her had been worth less than what you'd waste on a stray dog. The irony wasn't lost on me. Even a stray dog would show more loyalty than Trisha. Day after day, I watched their romance unfold like a bad play. Every morning, Harry would stand outside our dorm, holding a plain steamed bun like it was some precious offering. Trisha would blush and nibble at it delicately, playing the role of the modest girlfriend. Meanwhile, I enjoyed my meat-filled bun in peace, amused by their little performance. As our final year of university approached, the pressure of finding internships loomed over us. The memory of my previous life's interview at Company T still made my blood boil. That day, my perfectly prepared self-introduction had been ruined by mysterious stomach problems and humiliating gas. I had to flee the interview room in shame while Trisha sailed through her interview with suspicious ease. Now, with my future knowledge, I felt ready to rewrite that particular chapter. Their official relationship announcement came exactly as I remembered it. Trisha paraded Harry in front of me like a prize horse at a county fair. "Tina, this is my boyfriend, Harry. What do you think? He's very handsome, right?" Her thoughts screamed what she really wanted to say. "You must be so jealous you're going crazy." If only she knew how I was holding back my laughter. Jealous of what? The cow dung soup and scorpion dinners in her future? I couldn't resist taking a jab. "Are you proud of yourself?" I asked her sweetly, before turning to Harry with mock concern. "You must be really hungry if you can eat anything." I made sure my voice carried just far enough for nearby students to hear. The crowd's snickers were worth watching their faces fall, especially Harry pulling his cap down in embarrassment. The truth was painfully obvious. Trisha had never managed to keep a boyfriend in our previous life, and it wasn't because of her claimed independence. Her looks had always been a sore point, and Harry, being as vain as he was, clearly had ulterior motives for dating her. Even now, I could see him trying to avoid being seen with her in public. Trisha's thoughts grew darker with each passing day. That bitch Tina doesn't want to see me happy. Just wait. Sooner or later, I'll crush her under my feet. Her desperation to show off her relationship with Harry was almost pitiful. What she didn't realize was that I genuinely hoped they'd stay together. I was curious to see if Harry could achieve his tech success without my support this time. My apparent indifference bothered Trisha more than any obvious jealousy would have. Her paranoia peaked one crowded afternoon when she suddenly grabbed my wrist, her grip painfully tight. "Tina, have you also come back?" she hissed, her eyes wild with suspicion. I played my part perfectly, wrenching my arm away with a cry of pain. "Trisha, are you crazy? What's wrong with you?" I snapped, adding with just the right amount of dismissiveness, "It's just that you have a boyfriend now. There's nothing to be so smug about." Her relief was palpable as she relaxed, convinced by my performance. She immediately latched onto Harry's arm, putting on an exaggerated display of affection. Little did she know, every loving gesture was just another step toward her own karmic retribution. Playing the jealous friend was exhausting, but it was working perfectly. The more envious I appeared, the tighter Trisha clung to Harry. Their relationship became almost comical. She wouldn't sleep without hearing his snores over speakerphone, subjecting our entire dorm to their nightly ritual. "Trisha, for heaven's sake, use headphones," our roommates would plead. "What's so fascinating about hearing a man snore? Some of us actually need to sleep." She'd just smirk and mutter under her breath about how we were all just jealous of her talented and handsome boyfriend, before reluctantly putting on her headphones. The day before the big interview, Trisha finally noticed my preparations. Her reaction was explosive. She stormed up to me, face contorted with rage. "How dare you prepare for the interview without telling me? I thought we were friends. You're so selfish." Her eyes blazed with accusation. "You can't go, or I'll never forgive you." Our roommate, fed up with Trisha's drama, came to my defense. "Are you serious? Everyone knew about this interview. How is it Tina's fault that you didn't prepare?" I shot her a grateful smile, but Trisha wasn't finished. "Don't interfere in other people's business," she snapped before turning back to me. "Tina, if you're really my friend, you won't go." I knew I had to diffuse the situation carefully. Who knew what she might do to sabotage my interview? So I played my trump card, forcing tears into my eyes. "If it means that much to you, I won't go," I said softly. "Tomorrow's Harry's birthday, right? I'll celebrate with you both instead." Our roommates looked at me like I'd lost my mind, but I saw the flash of panic in Trisha's eyes. Suddenly, she was backpedaling fast. "Oh, I was just kidding," she laughed nervously. "You've worked so hard. Of course you should go to the interview." Her thoughts screamed her true concerns. "Sly woman, don't think I don't know you're trying to seduce my boyfriend. Don't ruin it." I had to suppress a laugh. If only she knew the truth about Harry from my past life. Behind our picture-perfect marriage lay a rotting core. Mistresses had paraded through our lives, each one bolder than the last, while I spiraled into depression. Even our children had turned against me, their cruel words cutting deeper than any knife. "Mom, if Dad cheats, you're partly to blame. Who would want an old hag like you?" For those children, I'd endured decades of humiliation. By middle age, when Harry's career had started to crumble and our children's education drained our savings, things got even worse. His professional failures poisoned his mind with paranoia, leading to that fatal accusation of infidelity. I watched Trisha fawning over Harry now, treating him like some precious gem, and felt nothing but pity. Let her have her moment of triumph. This time, I wouldn't be the one paying the price for Harry's toxic legacy. The irony of my past death wasn't lost on me. Trisha had only wanted Harry to divorce me, but his explosive temper led to murder instead. Her grand plan to become a wealthy socialite had crumbled with my death. As these bitter memories swirled in my mind, I drifted into an uneasy sleep. The next morning, I jolted awake to find Trisha looming over my bed like a ghost, her eyes cold and calculating. "Tina, you're awake," she said, blinking with false innocence. My skin crawled, but I forced a smile as she handed me a soy milk. "I felt bad about yesterday, so I got up early to buy you breakfast." Alarm bells rang in my head. This scene was eerily familiar. In my past life, this same thoughtful breakfast had led to my humiliation during the interview. Her thoughts confirmed my suspicion. Ha ha ha, what a fool. Still as easy to trick as in the past life. I played along, accepting the drink with pretend gratitude. The moment Trisha disappeared into the bathroom, I emptied the suspicious soy milk into a nearby plant, carefully smearing some foam on my lips for show. When she returned to find the empty cup, her satisfied smile told me everything I needed to know. At Company T's building, I discovered her backup plan. Every single page in my carefully prepared documents had been replaced with blank sheets. Clever, Trisha. No wonder she'd been hovering by my bed that morning. But she'd underestimated me again. When the interviewer started to dismiss me, I spoke up confidently, reciting my entire presentation from memory. The look of approval in his eyes was sweet victory. That evening, the acceptance notice arrived, but Trisha was too busy with Harry's birthday preparations to notice. Late that night, her Instagram told another story, a suggestive photo of intertwined hands on hotel sheets, with an opened condom box strategically placed in view. Her message couldn't have been clearer. The next morning, Trisha strutted into our dorm glowing with satisfaction. She made sure to lean close enough for me to see the trail of hickeys on her neck, her thoughts broadcasting loudly. "You have no idea. Harry's skills are top-notch. You're jealous, aren't you?" She practically danced around the room, her inner voice gloating. "Just thinking about how your husband and children will be mine in the future makes all my efforts worth it." From that moment on, Trisha became Harry's shadow, abandoning even her required internship to spend every moment with him. Little did she know, she was walking straight into the trap she'd set for me in another life. Sometimes karma works in deliciously ironic ways. People tried to warn Trisha, but she just laughed them off. "You're all just jealous. I'll be a wealthy lady soon. Harry's all I need." But something was different this time around. Harry hadn't received those promising job offers from big companies like in our previous life. Instead, he was talking about starting his own business, with Trisha eagerly cheering him on from the sidelines. Meanwhile, my life at Company T was grueling but rewarding. Every morning, I dragged myself out of bed before dawn to catch the early bus, watching the city wake up during my long commute. 3 months of non-stop work left me thinner but stronger. When I became the first intern to receive a full-time offer, every sacrificed meal and lost hour of sleep felt worth it. With my new job secured, I decided to cut the final threads connecting me to my past. I found an apartment near the company and moved out of the dorm without warning. No more walking on eggshells around Trisha, no more watching my back. I had bigger dreams to chase. Trisha's reaction was explosive. "How dare you move out without consulting me?" she shrieked through the phone. "Get back here right now. Don't you consider me a friend anymore?" This time, I didn't bother maintaining our facade of friendship. "Friend?" I said coolly. "What kind of friend drugs someone's drink and tampers with their interview documents? From now on, you don't exist to me." The silence on the other end was deafening, broken only by her panicked breathing. "Fine," she finally spat. "I don't need a friend like you either." I hung up, blocked her number, and turned back to my unfinished presentation. In my previous life, missing out on Company T had forced me to settle for a startup studio. Just as things were looking up there, I got pregnant despite being on birth control. Back then, young and full of dreams about family life, I'd chosen marriage and motherhood over career advancement. My parents' early deaths had left such a void. I thought having my own family would fill it. Shaking my head at these memories, I focused on my computer screen. My past life had taught me the hard way that the only person I could truly count on was myself. Men, marriage, romance, they were all just distractions from building the life I deserved. This time around, I was writing my own story, and there was no room for supporting characters who would try to steal the lead role. The bruises from my past life had become armor for this one, and I intended to make every decision count. Some might call me cold or calculating, but they hadn't lived through what I had. They hadn't felt the knife of betrayal from both a best friend and a husband. This time, I was choosing myself. Success tasted sweeter the second time around. After pulling an all-nighter, my project wasn't just approved, I was chosen to lead it. Within 6 months, I rose to team leader, leveraging my future knowledge to secure major projects that others couldn't even imagine. Watching my bank account approach 7 figures felt like sweet revenge against fate itself. Meanwhile, Trisha's desperation grew more obvious by the day. Though I'd blocked her everywhere, rumors of her activities still reached me. She'd finally figured out I was also reborn, and it terrified her. She clung to Harry like a drowning woman to driftwood, pouring mysterious funds into his business ventures. With my past life knowledge, his company showed promise, but I knew better than anyone how quickly Harry's loyalty could turn once someone outlived their usefulness. Before that drama could unfold, though, Trisha announced her pregnancy. My old roommates kept me updated on her daily social media performances. Accidentally poked by my beloved husband with a needle. From youthful girl to round-bellied pregnant woman. My husband scolds me for wanting cherries. He's just too protective. The most nauseating post was about wanting a son. We're not sexist. We just don't want a daughter competing for my husband's love. Reading these posts made my skin crawl. Even in her second life, Trisha was stuck playing the same pathetic role, just with a different costume. I couldn't resist leaving a few cutting comments, a decision that brought her storming to my office building the next day. I almost didn't recognize her after 6 months, but that scheming voice was unmistakable. "You bitch," she hissed, gripping my wrist. "So you've been reborn too. Don't even think about taking Harry back. I'm carrying his child now." Her eyes blazed with a familiar hatred. Looking at her now, pregnant and desperate, I felt no need to maintain our old pretenses. Still, I was careful not to use force. The last thing I needed was a scene with a pregnant woman outside my office. "Trisha," I said coldly, "I always treated you well. Why did you betray me?" The moment those words left my mouth, confirming my rebirth, she released my wrist as if burned. Her voice rose to that shrill pitch I remembered so well from my past life, exactly like Harry's mother's. The parallel almost made me laugh. Some people never learn, even when fate gives them a second chance. Trisha's voice trembled with years of bottled-up resentment as she lashed out. "Tina, what right do you have to criticize me? You think you're so perfect? For 4 years in university, I lived in your shadow, accepting your charity. Every man I ever showed interest in fell for you, while you played innocent, pretending not to notice. Wasn't that your way of making me feel worthless?" Her words struck something deep within me, triggering flashes from our past life. I remembered now, all those times Trisha had mentioned wanting someone like Harry, I had dismissed it as casual conversation. I had even warned her against seeking someone like him, hoping to spare her from experiencing my tragic fate. The grinding of my teeth echoed in my ears as the pieces fell into place. "So that's why you plotted against me? Drugged me and gave Harry the perfect opportunity to end my life?" Trisha's face flickered with momentary confusion, but she didn't deny it. Instead, her eyes blazed with an unsettling fury. "I never thought he would actually kill you," she spat. "It's your fault for dying. If you had lived, Harry would have divorced you, and I would have had my chance." The pieces of the puzzle were coming together. Harry's company had been facing bankruptcy then. He'd spent his days drowning in alcohol, completely shattered after discovering my alleged infidelity. With his pride and dominant personality, forgiveness was never an option. Yet something still didn't add up about Trisha's death, though I knew she wouldn't freely offer that information. "Why are you really here, Trisha?" I asked coolly. "To flaunt your supposed happiness with Harry?" She protectively cradled her baby bump, a smug smile playing on her lips. "I'm here to warn you, Tina. Stay away from Harry, or I'll make sure your company knows all about your past." I wanted to shake her, to make her see reason. Even after being reborn, she was still trapped in her past life's mindset, desperately clinging to a toxic love. In our previous life, she had struggled to find love, and now she was treating garbage like gold. It didn't take long to understand the real reason behind her visit. The new partnership announcement landed on my desk the next morning. Company T was collaborating with Harry's studio. Her threat suddenly made perfect sense. In the 6 months since his miraculous business rise, Harry had fallen back into his old patterns. Just like in our past life, he wasn't creating anything original. He was merely exploiting Trisha's memories to steal other people's work. Life had a twisted sense of humor, placing me in charge of evaluating his studio for potential partnership. The project in question was a 3D mobile game. My past life's memories served me well here. I knew this game had been originally developed by a smaller, more talented studio. Harry was doing nothing more than creating a poor imitation. Putting the company's interests first, I had no choice but to reject the partnership. Harry, predictably, stormed into our office, causing a scene. "Tina, you're letting personal feelings cloud your professional judgment," he accused, his voice echoing through the office. "This is nothing but revenge." Somehow, he'd convinced himself that I was a scorned admirer, desperately seeking his attention. The commotion grew so large that upper management had to step in. "I never expected this from you, Tina," Harry declared, his face twisted in mock disappointment. "Trisha told me about your unrequited feelings for me. I didn't believe it then, but now—" He turned to my superiors. "Either fire this power-abusing employee, or forget about any future collaboration with my studio." I could feel my boss's evaluating gaze. Harry's project held value in their eyes, and without a solid explanation, I'd be clearing out my desk by evening. "Sir, I need to speak with you privately," I requested calmly. When I emerged from the leader's office later, it wasn't me being escorted out, it was Harry. I had been prepared for this moment since learning about Harry's involvement. My investigation had uncovered the original studio behind the game, whose product far outshined Harry's pale imitation. I'd already initiated contact with them, laying groundwork for a potential partnership. The evidence of Harry's plagiarism was undeniable, and management quickly backed my alternative proposal. My boss even dropped hints about a year-end promotion. But this incident left a bitter taste in my mouth. When I generated profits, all I received were empty compliments while the higher-ups reaped the rewards. Yet any mistake would have cost me my position instantly. So I made a decision. Shortly after Harry's departure, I submitted my resignation. I approached the small studio that Harry had attempted to plagiarize with a proposition. "I see immense potential in your team. I'm willing to invest and sponsor your company. You'll maintain complete creative control. I'll focus on operations and marketing, helping you gain the recognition you deserve." My transition from employee to entrepreneur came naturally. These young developers, with their passion and dreams, deserved every bit of my investment and respect. But my first act as their partner wasn't about game development. It was drafting a copyright infringement lawsuit against Harry's studio. I didn't stop there. I meticulously tracked down every game he'd plagiarized and united all his victims for a coordinated legal attack. "Think you can rewrite your story this time, Harry? Think again." I watched as the lawsuits poured in like a flood, leaving him scrambling. He never suspected me, assuming it was just business rivalry. Though his company was still relatively wealthy, a skinny camel still being larger than a horse, as they say, the compensation payments for all his contract breaches drained his ill-gotten gains significantly. Months passed, and Trisha gave birth to a daughter. History repeated itself as Harry buried himself in work, leaving her alone to face his family. He brought his mother from the countryside to help, though torment would be a better word. The old woman had never approved of Trisha, and the birth of a daughter only fueled her contempt. I watched from afar as Trisha's life crumbled. Under her mother-in-law's relentless emotional abuse, she shrank from a healthy 90 kilos during pregnancy to a mere 50 kilos. No weight loss pill could compete with the effectiveness of Harry's mother's psychological warfare. The moment Trisha's postpartum period ended, the pressure for a male heir began. The old woman's traditional remedies were medieval torture disguised as medicine. Pig stomach boiled with cow dung became a daily nightmare. Trisha's social media transformation told the story perfectly. Her early posts bragged, "My husband loves me so much, he supports any method to have a son." But gradually, her account became a digital diary of despair. "Is a son really worth all this? But for my husband, I must endure," she'd write. I created a fake account to follow her descent, each status update more entertaining than the last. But Trisha broke sooner than I expected. When she appeared at my door, she was barely recognizable, a ghost of her former self, so fragile that a whisper of wind might scatter her like autumn leaves. "Tina, I was wrong," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Please help me divorce Harry. His mother, I can't take it anymore. The pig stomach, the cow dung, even fried scorpions. She makes me eat live piglets, claiming it will give me a son. If I refuse Harry, he hits me, says I'm ungrateful for his mother's kindness." Her eyes were red-rimmed, her skin marked with telling bruises. "I'll never compete with you for Harry again. He's yours if you want him. Just please help me escape." The once proud Trisha had been reduced to skin and bones, her body as broken as her spirit. Time had ravaged Trisha mercilessly, barely past 20, yet she looked twice her age. "I've wronged you terribly," she whispered through tears. "You can hate me, hurt me, but I can't endure this life anymore. Harry, he's a monster." Her voice cracked as she revealed the depths of her hell. "He brings women home, flaunts them in front of me, claiming they'll give him the son I couldn't. I was such a fool. In our past life, after your death, Harry killed me too. I should never have trusted a murderer again." I listened silently, believing every word, yet feeling no sympathy. Part of me wanted to tell her she deserved everything. In our past life, Harry had ended her life, yet here she was, having chosen him again. As stupid as a pig, I thought. No matter how many chances she got, this would always be her fate. Still, I wasn't about to let Harry and his mother win so easily. "I'll help you," I said coolly, "but on one condition." Trisha's eyes lit up with desperate hope, ready to agree to anything. "I know Harry's stolen ideas came from your memories. Get me evidence. I want to destroy him so thoroughly he'll never work in this industry again." This was perhaps my last act of mercy toward Trisha. I'd noticed that since our reunion, I couldn't hear her inner thoughts anymore, suggesting her remorse was genuine. Yes, I hated her, and yes, she'd received her karmic punishment. While I wasn't saint enough to forgive past wrongs easily, I remembered that ultimately, Harry had been my killer. Harry never suspected Trisha would betray him. In his arrogance, she was just another lovesick woman under his thumb. But he forgot that those closest to you can plant the deepest knife. Trisha delivered everything: evidence of Harry's theft, his plagiarism, every dirty secret. Our plan was simple. I'd file the lawsuit, she'd file for divorce, and everything would unfold perfectly. When Harry finally realized Trisha's betrayal, his shocked expression was deliciously satisfying. "Why?" he demanded. Trisha's bitter laugh cut through the air. "Why? Touch your conscience, Harry. If the dogs haven't eaten it all, everything you have came from me. And how did you repay me? You let your mother torment me, paraded mistresses through our home, and crushed my dignity again and again. I may have wronged Tina, but with you, I owe you nothing." Harry's fall was spectacular. His games were pulled down, crushing compensation fees piled up, and Trisha won her divorce easily. She didn't even fight for custody, knowing it would hurt Harry's pride more to raise a daughter alone. Even selling his house and car couldn't cover his debts. Just like in our past life, he broke completely, drowning himself in alcohol day after day. One day, while walking through the company hallways, I spotted a familiar face among the cleaning staff. Harry's mother. "Fire her," I ordered without hesitation. "Our company has no place for people like her." My investment had paid off brilliantly. We'd become an industry leader, with plans to go public in a few years. Everyone knew me as Director Do, a name that commanded respect. Trisha's transformation after divorcing Harry was remarkable. "Tina," she confessed one day, "I finally see how foolish I've been. I won't ask for forgiveness or try to justify my actions. Wrong is wrong. I just want to make amends, even knowing you may never forgive me. Thank you for stopping me from sinking deeper into that nightmare. I was reborn, yet I wasted time obsessing over that worthless man." Her once sharp edges had softened, weathered by life's storms. When I asked about her future plans, she smiled, the first genuine smile I'd ever seen from her. "I'm going to teach in the mountains," she said. "Use what knowledge I have to help children in remote areas. It's my way of atoning. I won't return here. I truly wish you peace and success, Tina." True to her word, Trisha left for the mountains the very next day. Later, I came across a photo she'd shared online. A group of children, poor but clean, their faces radiating pure, innocent joy. It sparked something in me. I decided to establish a charitable foundation, helping children escape poverty's grip. Heaven had given me a second chance at life. I needed to make it count for something good. Months later, a thank you letter arrived from Trisha. "This time," she wrote, "I'm not thanking you for myself, but on behalf of these children." The following year brought another letter, this one thick with pages of gratitude. Some written in neat script, others in the wobbly handwriting of children just learning their letters. Each message carried the same warmth and sincerity. Years later, as I prepared to leave my position, I found those letters carefully preserved in my desk drawer. The names signed at the bottom had become familiar, now belonging to leaders across various fields. Each signature represented a life touched, a future brightened. Being reborn wasn't just about correcting past wrongs or seeking revenge. It was about creating something new, something better. Through all the twists and turns, through pain and redemption, we'd both found our true purposes. Trisha found hers in teaching mountain children, and I found mine in building bridges to better futures. The cycle of revenge had transformed into a cycle of giving, and somehow, that felt like the most satisfying revenge of all.